Chapter 24. It was coming into October of 2015. I went to pick Jamie up and take her to work, and no response. I called the old man's house, and that old fart answered the phone. He closed the phone in my face. I called again and said, "Hey, you motherfucker, what's your problem?" He said he would never put Jamie on his phone to talk with me ever. So supposedly he knew of me through Jamie, but I didn't care. I was trying to take her to work and couldn't get a hold of her. Later on that day, Jamie called me and told me she was sicker than a dog and needed to get the Suboxone. She was having strong cravings and needed to alter it. I finally took her to her girlfriend's house, and she got the medicine with me giving her $30 to get the Suboxone. Jamie was sick and puking, so I told her to get it all out of her system. I reminded her that I had to be at work at a certain time unless she wanted to ride with me that night like she had other nights. We went to Kroger and got her groceries. She seemed to act differently toward me. While I came up to hug her, she slapped me and said, "Don't touch me." I looked at her puzzled. Then she ripped the shirt off my back in the car. I said, "Look, why are you acting like this?" Then she started cussing me out and started telling me, "Don't touch her," etc., etc. Out of anger, knowing the Mexican's house was around the corner from the grocery store, I left her there. I was totally angry about acting hostile toward me for no apparent reason. Later on that night, Richmond police called me to tell her I had to come down to turn myself in. I asked them, "For what?" Then they proceeded to tell me that a lady by the name of Jamie Whalen was putting a protective order on me. Right then and there, I knew this wasn't Jamie's doings. Someone else had put a bug in her ear. Perhaps that son of bitch Gary. I left her a message and asked her, "What in the hell is going on?" Finally, the Richmond police told me I must have no contact with her until the court day. This made me extremely emotional and angry and confused. What the hell was going on? Finally, I had to hire an attorney, and Kevin and another cab driver named Constantine were witness to Jamie and my relationship and to prove to the courts that this was behavior totally out of left field on her part. I felt like someone kicked me in my gut. Not knowing what to think, I was sick and heartbroken that she would do this to me. When the case came, she never showed up to the courts. Then she texted me on the phone and said, "I'm sorry, but I figured by me not showing up, it would clear things up for you." I told her I had to drop $1,000 down just the same. She apologized again and said, "Don't make a stink about it. I'll get a hold of you when the time is right." Totally heartbroken, still wanted things to work themselves out. Then she hung up the phone. Tried calling her back, and the phone was disconnected. Knowing still she was prompt to do that because of that old man giving her an ultimatum pissed me off. That son of a bitch caused a rift, and I was determined to break that rift. I had an issue with both the Mexican and the old fart. Only difference is I truly wanted the best for her and her to get clean. I knew of few incidents and her demons that she was dealing with. I clearly told her I would do anything for her, just as long she showed me a little acknowledgement and acceptance of truly who cares for her. I told Angela what had happened, and she told me if that didn't wake me up about her, nothing will. I said to her she was prompted to by that old man. 2 months down the road, walking into 2016, my Kung Fu instructor I picked up from the airport in Afghanistan. We were talking about the good old days of working out in his dojo. Talked about how I learned and picked up a lot from his teachings. I told him that I appreciated his patience. Just then, while I was driving him back home, the phone rings, and it was Jade. She called me and started tearing up. I said, "I didn't think I would hear from you again. I wanted us to make things right. Jimmy said, I need your help. I said, let me drop my friend off and I'll be right to you. Where are you at? She gave me an address, so I picked her up from the hotel. After I dropped the Quadar off, I went straight to her. She was there and told me, get me out of here. I said, what happened? She said she was living out of the hotel room for a few months with this individual and that she lost her job at IHOP because she didn't have a way to get there after the chain of events had happened. I said, would they hire you back if we were to go there now and try to get your job back? She said she insisted that she didn't want to go back. She also told me she left Orlando because his roommates threw her out. Not knowing the whole story, she told me Orlando told her to get out, along with the other roommates influencing that. I said, well, don't worry. You have home with me. How soon do you want to move in? She said she needed to get her personal stuff out of her other friend Anthony's house, Anthony. I said, Anthony? Who's Anthony? She told me where she kept her belongings at. So we crammed a taxi and got her effects and belongs, crammed them in the car. She had twin bed set and box spring, so we started moving everything in the guest bedroom. Things seemed to turn around in things briefly, as they would turn around for me and my girl came back. Angela knowing this and knowing that Jamie would be moving in with me at my house. Though this time she refused to go back to IHOP for her job. Though she still was talking with that old man, which made me sick. While we moved her back in the house, I wanted to relax her, so I sat her in my lap and massaged her whole body. For the first time, I was able to show her how much I loved her. She fell asleep in my arms, and I started kissing her on her forehead. I cradled her body, and then I fell asleep. I woke up and woke her up and took her downstairs to the bedroom. She felt very safe and satisfied being in my arms while I stroked her hair. I was too tired to let her ride Space Mountain, but her hands were nestly to my member, and it felt awesome that we were able to be like this for about 12 hours or so, with no disturbance and no arguing or bickering. She was safe with me as well as it should have been from the beginning. She felt content and my eyes were watering up. I wanted her in my life, perhaps as my wife. I had never felt this way about anyone, and the fact she came back to me. I was in heaven 7, being able to wake up to the woman I wanted in my life. Morning came, and I gently asked if she would be open, if I could show her how much I love her. She said, do you have rubbers? I said no, but if she felt better that way, I would wear one. She then unzipped my zipper and she showed me her appreciation for helping her out. Then she got me rock hard as a brick. She straddles herself and she started riding Space Mountain. She moaned and said, thank you, babe, for all you've done.
I said thank you for coming back around. I love you, Jimmy K. Whalen.
We shared a moment, and I wasn't going to let her go. Then asked her, where am I now on the totem pole of men? She smiled and said, you deserved it for sticking around and never giving up on me. She said, no matter what fucked up thing I do, you and I will always be connected. Just as long as I can give her space when she needed it, she would reward me like she did. I said, Jamie, just be honest and be true. That's all I ask. I then planted a juicy wet kiss in which we enjoyed, then a big strawberry in which we shared. I told her if she has any cravings to let me know and we will fight it together. She then pulled out my member again, stroke it and suck on it. She said, you are gifted. I said, That's only because I'm with a woman that I want to be with and wake up to every day. It's happy like I'm happy. Lol. We both laughed and got ready to head out. Just then Angela called up and Jamie answered the phone. I cringed. Why did you do that? Then Angela asked for me, so Jamie gave me the phone. I said, what's going on? She said, what is she doing there? I said, she is now living with me and we have worked out our differences. I told Angela, why can't she be happy for me? Then Jamie insisted to talk with Angela, so they talked on the phone, and surprisingly enough, things between the two of them became more polite. I simply sat back and smiled, but I didn't want Angela trying to do something after Jamie and I finally got on the same wavelength and page. My issue was Angela had something up her sleeve by the old motto keeping your friends close and your enemies even closer. I knew she could have been up to something, but still kept a positive approach, but my eyes wide open. Things for about 2 to 3 weeks seemed great. Angela bought Jamie a phone, which made my jaw drop. I told Angela that she didn't have to do that. She assured me it wasn't a new phone, and if Jamie didn't want it, she could return it. I knew something wasn't right, and she could be a wedge if ever Jamie and I were to get into another argument due to something Angela did. Nevertheless, we rode with it, though I still kept my eyes open. Meanwhile, Josh called me and told me he could pay me some money if he could move back in. I told him the answer is no. He then got up with me and paid me some of the money still owed for 2 months. I moved him back in with the stipulations he couldn't be carrying any weapons, no dogs, and he needed to get caught back up with his rent. He moved back in, and things became awkward between Jamie and Josh. Jamie didn't want him there, and Josh was amazed that Jamie and I made up after all the drama went down. During this time, I made it clear that they had to get along, and I also told Josh that he would get along with Jamie, or he would have to move back out. Then jokingly, Josh said, yeah, 'cause I don't have the vagina, right? I said, it's beyond that, dude. Get caught up with your rent. Meanwhile, one cold morning, I turned on the shower, and cold water came pouring out. I started cursing up a storm and got on the phone with Enrico County, so no immediate resolution was made up. They had the bill to screwed up, so needless to say, we had no hot water for about a month. So Jamie and myself took showers in the gym. Josh did as well until I could get caught up with the phantom charges the county placed. Extremely ridiculous on the monopoly they had on the phantom bills they had totaled. Bunch of horse shit. Jamie started to have more cravings for Suboxone because she was getting withdrawals and trying to fight them off. So I had to question her, and then she told me that she needed Irish rosé as well from the India Drew store. I said, why do you need that? Because she is trembling and having serious withdrawals. So about 3 weeks, things were great, and then she started to want to visit that old man, and he was going to pay her for cleaning up his place. I didn't want to get into another argument, but I knew things might be heading in that direction. She spent a few days away from the house with the old man. While I got ready to get to work, Angela called me and started talking loud and very fast. I said, what's going on? She said, it's Jamie. She said the Richmond police called her phone and said they had to rush her to the hospital. I said, what? Where is she at? She told me the hospital, so I went down there as fast as I could. I called down there while I was heading there and asked them what's going on. I mentioned Jamie's name and asked them what happened. They asked who I was, and I said, I'm Jamie's boyfriend. They said, come down to the facility and they will let me know. While I went to the hospital to see Jamie, they grilled me with a bunch of questions in my relations to who I am with Jamie. They asked if I was related to her. Again, I'm her boyfriend. What the hell happened? The nurse said we can't give you any information unless you are related to her or if she lives with you. I said, yes, she does live with me. So finally, they told me she had an overdose.
Say what?
The nurse said her bloodstream is filled with heroin. Where is she? She is inside the room and she wants to let the nurse give her medicine to control it. I went in and I saw fighting with the nurse. I told the nurse to let me talk with her to calm her down. Babe, what are you doing?
The nurse is trying to inject me with the needle.
No, babe, she is trying to help you. I started to get emotional. I asked the nurse what actually happened. She overdosed with heroin. We were trying to calm her down. Jamie, please, let them give you the injection to try calm you down. They are trying to help you.
Get me out of here, she screamed.
Baby, I can't, because you need to take the medicine they are trying to give you. Please listen to them. They aren't trying to hurt you. Trust me. Then I held her hand and said, please let her help you. Once they did inject her, they kept her overnight. I then asked the nurse what happened next. The nurse said she sleeps it off and then sees a judge and he decides what happens. Can I visit her tomorrow? She said she'll call you, but we can't release her. So I left, perplexed and emotional. Called Angela and asked her again how she heard this, that she was found passed out. She said the police officer answered the phone. I said, now it's the waiting game, because she has to go through a judge to grant her release. More stress, but showed a lot of concern, and I wanted her out of there and home with me.